Shalom, Chaverim, Chag Sameach to all of you who watch this program today in preparation for Passover, titled The Mystery of the Haggadah. I know that many of you are preparing in preparation mode for Passover right now, and I wanted to give you a prophetic eye view today in this special teaching on Passover, specifically as related to the story of the Haggadah. Everybody know about the elements, everybody know about the 10 plagues, everybody know the story. But what I want to do with you today is to share with you the story that is behind the story, if it makes sense to you. We read this story and we ask the question, how is this night different from any other night? Well, I want to try to answer this to you today through the word of our sages, the word of Chazal as we know them as, the words of our rabbis, and to try to understand what is behind this story of the Haggadah. Let me start by first suggesting to you that the entire theme of this book that I hold here in my hand, the Haggadah, okay, here is a traditional Haggadah LePesach. The entire story here is a story of redemption. Okay, let's start with this. Is a true story of redemption. And if we look carefully and deeply at some of the steps and some of the clues that left to us in the Haggadah by our sages, we will find very clearly not just the Messiah of Israel, but we also find the redemption, eschatology, etc., etc. As a matter of fact, in Talmud Bavli, Rosh Hashanah Tractate, chapter 11, chapter 11, page 11, Masechet, page 11, Aleph, it says the following. It says, on the new year, the bondage of our ancestors in Egypt ceased. In Nisan they were redeemed, and Nisan they will be redeemed in the time to come, Rabbi Yeshua says. In Nisan the world was created. In Nisan Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob were born. In Nisan they died. On Passover, Isaac was born. On New Year, Sarah, Rachel, Hannah were visited. On New Year, Joseph went forth to prison. On New Year, the bondage of our ancestors ceased in Egypt. And in Nisan, they will be redeemed in the time to come. There is two schools of thoughts in Judaism that when we talk about redemption. One school of thought says that the redemption will occur in the month of Nisan. Another school of thought says that the redemption will happen actually in the month of Tishrei. For the majority, though, of Jewish thought, the redemption will happen in Nisan. When I'm talking about the redemption, I'm talking about the final redemption, because our sages explain to us that a redemption, the process of a redemption, is a cyclical process rather than a linear process. What has happened will happen again. Exodus Rabbah 2 says to us, everything that has happened in the first Geulah, when we went forward out of Egypt, going to happen again, but it's going to happen in a much more magnified way. Okay, so in essence, if we can take the story of the Haggadah, based on the word of the sages, if we can take this story and study it carefully, we can learn the clues and the steps of the future redemption, okay? There is even a clue in the Hebrew word Haggadah, the name of the story that we're telling. It's not called in Hebrew a story, it's called in Hebrew Haggadah, and it's based on the verse, and if you want to make yourself a note, the verse from Shmot 12:8 that says, "Vehigata levidcha bayom hahu le'emor," and you are to tell your child in that day, bayom hahu le'emor. Notice also in the language here, bayom hahu, okay? It says in Zechariah, talking about God, he says, and we sing it every Shabbat in the synagogue, Bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad. In that day the Lord will be one and his name will be one. In essence, we are to tell the story of Haggadah for our children over and over and over again for one purpose, to prepare them to the day of redemption, the day of redemption that is coming in the future. That's kind of the reason we're telling the story. This story, the story called the Haggadah, represent a rehearsal of some sort, okay? Now, the word of Haggadah, where's this name Haggadah, where does that come from, is also interesting. Chazal explained to us that the word Haggadah related to the idea of being drawing near to God, drawing near to Him, coming close to Him. Okay, it's like David HaMelech, he cried up, and you see this term Haggadah actually uses. People don't realize that, but the term Haggadah is an issue of a heart. It's not an issue of sitting down and, hey, let's read a happy story. And I hope that tomorrow it won't be just a social gathering for you. It will be an event that, as Chazal says, it is your commandment to act in this day as you live in Egypt today. And matter of fact, look at what King David said. David HaMelech said in Psalm 51, he says, and we sing it every Shabbat, Adonai sefatahati yiftach ufi hilatecha. It's actually coming from the Amidah, the beginning of the Amidah, the Avot section. Oh Lord, open my lips and my mouth shall declare thy praise. I want you to notice here the word shall declare. You see this term declare? The term declare in Hebrew is the term yagid. The term yagid is derived from the same word Haggadah. And look what David is crying out. He said, God, open my lips so I will be able to proclaim. As the scripture says, out of abundance of the heart the mouth speaks. So there is an element here, even in the term Haggadah, there is an element of the heart, connecting our heart with the heart of God. Now I want to shock you for a moment and explain to you here today that the story of the Haggadah is not the story merely of Exodus. If you think that the story of Haggadah is about our redemption out of Exodus, I want to tell you that this is truly only a very, very small part of the story that I would like to reveal to you today. The real story of Haggadah has to deal with humankind, mankind, and what took place actually in the garden, okay? It's a process, as you're going to learn with me today, in the rectification of mankind back to the original garden condition. Let me explain this just a little bit more. There is definitely a controversy in Judaism about what fruit Adam actually ate in the garden, okay? Some say that he ate the fruit of the vine. In rabbinical literature, you're going to find a couple of these. Some say he ate the fruit of the vine. Some say he ate wheat, and some say he ate from a fig tree, and some say he ate from an etrog tree. Interesting, all of those things are represented by the different festivals, okay? Since We do not know exactly which fruit Adam ate from. I want you to notice that each one of those things that I just mentioned to you is part of the Passover Seder. It should give you a real clue for what the Passover Seder is really all about, okay? So, for example, the sages teach that when we drink, the Seder start with the first cup of wine that is called Kadesh, or we call it in Hebrew the Kiddush, right? The cup of sanctification. What is the first thing we do? The sages explain that the cup of Kiddush, what we do in the entire Haggadah story, we do what's called a tikkun, repair or restoration. And what are we repairing through the very first cup of Kiddush? When tomorrow, when you raise the cup and you read, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pri hagefen, please understand that this mitzvah, in theory, according to Chazal, it's a mitzvah that we proclaim to bring a tikkun for this first sin in the Garden of Eden, okay? If Adam indeed ate vine, as Chazal says, they say, we start with the fruit of the vine, we're making a tikkun for the sin of Adam. In essence, we said to God, God, we want you to bring it out of spiritual Egypt. We want you to restore us back to our original condition, okay? Vine, since there is a question of what wheat also they ate, guess what? We also eat in the Pesach says Seder tomorrow a matzah. Again, what does that represent? A tikkun for what Adam has done. In essence, we are saying we want to be repaired and we want to be restored to what Adam was not able to do. Notice another thing that we eat tomorrow, we also eat a charoset. Now, what charoset is made of? If you know what charoset is made of, the one ingredient of a charoset, okay, that is made from is apple, okay? And the word that is used is the word tapuach, okay? Tapuach is represented, it can be both represented, tapuach represent apples, but it also represents an etrog. Again, those are the two things that the rabbi said, that Adam, this represents the forbidden fruit, okay? Some people also add figs to the charoset for that exact reason as well. And here's what our sages said. We do those things, even in the element of the charoset, for one reason. We eat matzah, we eat charoset, we also drink the first cup of wine. We do it for one reason only, to remove ourselves the original sin of the tree of knowledge. Matter of fact, in Midrash Rabbah, we learn that afterwards, I want you, the Midrash Rabbah actually, there's a very interesting commentary that explains that afterwards, Adam and Eve ate all kind of animals. And that's why we use, according to the secrets of the Torah, why we use the lamb for Passover offering, okay? And we eat a cow for fasting offering. It's represent the tikkun even for everything that Adam and Eve happened. Let me explain a little bit more. This will become clearer. I know some of you have never heard it before, and you think that the story of the Haggadah is really a story just about the exodus of the Jewish people, but we need to go back in order to understand it, okay? Here is what Chazal explained to us. They explained to us that during the time before Adam and Eve had sinned, the Midrash explained to us, the angels, the malachim, they roasted the meat for Adam, okay? And they chilled this heavenly wine, okay? The Nachash, the serpent, saw this and he was become jealous on the fact that Adam Rishon, Adam, okay? And by the way, without getting into too many details, Adam Rishon, Adam, it's an acronym Aleph, Adam, Dalet, David, Mem, Mashiach. It's a picture of Adam, of David and Messiah. Satan saw what kind of relationship God going to have with the first man, and he said it is impossible because he became jealous and he caused mankind to sin, okay? And that's why, in essence, today we are roasting something. It's a memory of the roasting of the malachim, the angels themselves, that we give. In essence, we say, God, we want again, not just to rectify for the sin of Adam. We want again to have this relationship that you give us the food. You see, he gave us the manna and the slav and the man later in as he took us out of Egypt, but that was just merely a substitution, and if I may say, a cheap substitution to what he has done in the garden, okay? Because what he has done in the garden is his desire to return us to. Let me give you another incredible example of those things so we understand the meaning behind the story of the Haggadah. In the Pesach plate, you're going to have a parsley, okay? And you know, sometimes lettuce. Notice that everything that we eat is green, okay? And people ask the question, why do we eat green? And some people said, well, because it's present life. Well, friend, that's true, that's fine and all, but that's not the real reason, okay? Why do we eat green? Let me shock you. Before Adam have sinned, friends, he was not permitted. Before Adam and Eve sinned, he and Eve were not permitted to slaughter animals for food in order to eat them, since the animal were also what we call metukanim. They were repaired, they were in perfection. Okay? Adam only ate vegetables. He was vegetarian. How do I know it? Because the Torah tells us this. As a matter of fact, look with me for a moment in Bereshit, chapter 1, verse 29. It says there, and you have the Hebrew and the English, I'll read in Hebrew, Vayomer Elohim, הנה נתתי לכם, I give you את כל עשב זורע זרע, אשר על פני כל הארץ, את כל העץ, אשר בו עץ פרי עץ, זורע זרע, לכם יהיה לאכלה. I give you all those greens for vegetables. And it will be for your eating pleasure, okay? Please understand that this design that God has for us is not with meat. I'm not, by the way, I love eating meat. Don't get me wrong. But that was not God's design. And that's why we eat green in the Passover Sunday. We said, God, we desire today to be returning back to the original condition that you have set us before. And as a matter of fact, that's why we received Torah to begin with. We received the Torah, so we will be returning back to the original condition. But something went wrong when we rejected the first set of tablets. As a matter of fact, the second thing we're doing in the story of the Haggadah is we do a bracha over the parsley. And I want you to notice what the bracha actually reads like. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam boreh pri ha'adama. I want you to notice something about the word Adama. The word Adama made up of 3 root letters. Aleph, Dalet, Mem. That's the name of Adam, okay? In essence, there is a clue, linguistic clue here in the word. It said, we want to return back to the original condition where Adam was operating back. Matter of fact, let's bring up the word one more time. The word Adama, Adam, it's Aleph for Adam, Dalet for David, and Mem for Mashiach. There is even a clue here of the 3 layers of Geulah. Adam brought the first Geulah, or he was supposed to bring the first Geulah, and he failed. David was supposed to bring the second Geulah, and he also failed. And it will be the man for Mashiach who will bring the absolute final Geulah to the world, and that will be the Geulah that we're looking forward. So in essence, by eating the parsley, we are saying, God restore us back to our original condition. I challenge you to walk tomorrow to your Passover Seder with this expectation that God is going to transform you from the inside out. It's not just about dipping your food and eating and having fun. It's a supernatural spiritual condition as God seeks to rectify each one of us back to the original condition. So we talk about the first cup, the Kadesh, the wine, represent basically the first fruit. We talk about the karpas a little bit. The karpas is the parsley. But let's dig a little bit deeper to this. You see, the word karpas, friends, again, Hebrew is such a beautiful and unique language, so you always need to pay attention to it. But the word karpas is derived from two words. The first word, as a matter of fact, let me show it to you, put it up for me, is the word kar, which actually means pillow. Karit is easy, and pas mean removal. If you put those two words together, parsley, it's really literally read pillow removal. Now you probably ask yourself the question, what removing the pillow has to do with the karpas and with the future Geulah that come. It's related to the verse that state, the loyal have vanished from among men. One who wishes to wear the crown of the Torah, the crown of the king, Chazal explained to us, must put away his pillow. What does that mean? When you dip the karpas, it means you, in essence, surrendering your life to the Lord, and you say, I'm willing to put away my own comfort, okay, my own comfort, in order to receive the comfort that God has for me, but not my own comfort. As a matter of fact, in Pirkei Avot, the ethics of the fathers, the rabbis explain the karpas like this. He says, this is the way that is becoming for the study of the Torah. Sleep upon the ground and live life of trouble. What does that mean? Sleep upon the ground and live life of trouble. That's how you receive Torah? That's how you receive the crown of Torah? Sound like a recipe for trouble. But Chazal said, no, that's what the karpas represent, okay? A person should be willing to lay aside his pillows and couches, in a spiritual speaking, okay? In order to walk into a life of Torah. In essence, the entire story of the Haggadah is story of God reinventing our DNA back to the DNA that He chooses to, only if we chooses to let Him transform us. And what does His DNA look like? His DNA look like as back as the first Adam. Okay? That's what He wants to transform you to. Notice another thing, though, interesting about the karpas. The next thing we do, we're going to have a bowl of salt water. And everybody say that we take the bowl of salt water and we dip it twice, and we let the tears drop, and it's look like the drop of the Israelites. That's a very nice explanation, but let me please allow me to give you some of the deeper meaning behind the karpas, okay? The karpas represent the mitzvah, and I hope you all do it. Don't just take it and just dip it a little. The mitzvah says that we have to take the karpas and dip it all the way so your fingers are dipped in the salt and then come up. Chazal spoke in one voice, and they says, the dipping twice represent a person spiritual, listen to this, it's incredible, spiritual immersion of one body for the purpose of complete purification. One would call it a baptism or mikveh or whatever term you want to use. But when you take the parsley, it represents your spiritual death because you're underwater and coming back again with the power of resurrection. Now, the rabbis continue and they warn us and they say, one should not be like the person who immerses himself with impure reptile in his hand, God forbid. In essence, they say, don't be lukewarm, don't just dip it a little bit, dip it all the way as you say, God, I want to die today and I want to be resurrected today again. The entire story here of the karpas is a story of the resurrection by saying, I don't need the pills, I did not need the comfort. I'm asking God for you to let me die for you and be resurrected again from the dead. But there is more to this story, Chazal explained to us. It is related to the word karpas. The second word, the word in Hebrew pas, does not just mean removal, but it's come from the Hebrew word pasim. Okay, I want you to write down this word. It's a very important Hebrew word, the word pasim. Pasim means stripes. It's also mean colors. Let me ask you a question. Who is the one who have worn a garment made out of stripes? Kotonet pasim in Hebrew. The answer should be very obvious to you. The answer is Yosef or Joseph. In essence, the rabbis connected the dipping of the parsley or the dipping of the parsley to the sin of selling Yosef and what took place with Yosef. And as a matter of fact, the word pasim, pas, the same word we get karpas from, equal in gematria to the term 190. Well, guess what? The term in Hebrew, the end, acharit ayamim, also equal 190. That is, friends, not a coincidence. Notice something about this term, kutonet pasim also. I want you to notice something. It's made out of two letters, the beginning letter. The first letter, chaf, have two forms, regular chaf and final chaf. The letter pei also have a two form, regular pei and final pei. Chazal said that it represents the two comings of the Mashiachs. The Mashiach, son of Joseph, and the Mashiach, son of David. In essence, when we dip the karpas, we are asking God to bring the Geulah and bringing Ben Yosef, who will ultimately bring Mashiach ben David. And a matter of fact, Chazal says this in Sefer HaMenucha by Rabbi Manoach. They says, let's read it together. This is halacha. It says this. Ve'anu, and it's so amazing. I want to show you Jewish halacha. And this has come from Halachot Chametz Umatzah, chapter 8, halacha 2. Then it says, Ve'anu, and we are noagim b'char karpas. We dip the karpas, zecher from the word zikaron, as a memory lakutonet pasim, to the garment of stripes garment, shehasa Yaakov, that Yaakov did, Avinu, our father, Yosef, okay? Nidgalgel adavar, the things happen, veyardu avotenu lemitzraim. Stop there. This is very important. I want to explain to you. And then the rabbi says all the calamity of even living and going to Egypt and being in slavery in Egypt occurred for one reason, because we sold Joseph to the Goyim. We saw Joseph. It's a prophetic picture of that. But here is the shocking part that Rabbi Manoach says. Not only that this is a messianic thing to do, but he says here, he explained the two dippings the following. Let's go back to Rabbi Manoach, and he says, Klomar, therefore he explained, Shehat Vala Rishona, the first time we dip, okay, is not for the charoset, zecher lekutanet apasim, okay? And he explained it. He's saying we are doing this, the entire thing is a karpas. We are doing it for one reason, as a remembrance of what happened to Joseph. Friends, the entire thing here is messianic. It is done so we remember what happened to Yosef. As we understand Mashiach ben Yosef will follow the same thing that Yosef as went through. Now, Rabbi Ashkenazi, one of our most beloved rabbis in the 16th century, in his book Mahasei Adonai, Chelek Bet, page 23, give another incredible reason why we dip twice, okay? For not just for the two Geulot, he explained it like this. You may say, and let's go to Rabbi Ashkenazi and read. After Chazal Bagmara explained, the sages says that to do the first tibul for this purpose, he explained, he said, we are commanded to do shnei tibulim. We dip twice. And he explained, the very first time we dip, and notice something amazing, we don't dip it once, twice. We don't do it. Once we dip before the meal. And the second one we will do, we explain, the first one we do, explain the reason, he say, Hasibah leyeridatam, the reason for their spiritual decline. And he quoted this verse from the Torah, Vayetvelu et akutonet badam. And they dip the kutonet, the coat, the pasim, they dip it into blood. In answer, the first time we dip it, okay, represent the sin. It's represent the offense that we have done, okay? But then he explained the second reason, the second dipping during the meal, okay, that we are doing, okay? He says, speaking about the redemptions of Yosef, of Yosef ancestors, okay? And that's happened in Pesach. And it says, Vatavaltem, look, it's using the same term, Vatavaltem, the Tvilah. Vatavaltem badam et basaf ve'egata el hamashko. You put on your doorpost the blood. That's represent the prophetic future redemption of Israel. Okay, this is, I hope you understand it. So let me recap it to you in a simple language so you understand it. The first dipping represents the sin of selling Yosef. Okay, messianic picture. The second dipping represents the blood that is covered upon our doorpost. That is, in essence, rectifying this sin. It's a prophetic picture of the things to come, the karpas. Now, why do we call the green karpas, you might wonder? You know, I explained to you already, it's part of a reason, but 600,000 Jewish souls were affected by the sin of Adam HaRishon, the first Adam, and ultimately later on Joseph brothers, but it starts with Adam HaRishon. They went down to Egypt and they suffered oppressive servants. They become servants, okay? This we learn from the word karpas, okay? But notice something else. Why, the rabbi asked, why do we dip the karpas in salt water? Because the Egyptian cast the children of the 600,000 in the river. All of them were brought out of the river through the merit of the Mashiach. And who is the Mashiach? The Mashiach is Moses. Some people dip the karpas though. Here is the amazing thing. Are you ready for this? This is absolutely shocking. I was raised up in a tradition that we dip in salt water. But Chazal says no. It's through the second dipping that we remember the merit of Moshe Rabbeinu. In essence, we were casted into the river and casted out because one tzaddik, if he's a true tzaddik, can atone for the entire generation, as it says. But the rabbis continue, and I was, my jaw dropped when I saw that some people, according to, and I'll give you the reference, Psachim 114, page Aleph, says that we're not to dip it in salt, we are to dip it. And now you understand that the double dipping is a picture of redemption, to dip it in vinegar. This symbolizes the deeds that were washed as vinegar. That's one way to look at this. But another way to look at the dipping, and I hope all of you will do it this year, dip it in the vinegar. That is a Jewish halacha. You can do salt and to do vinegar. As messianic believers, this issue of vinegar become very clear. You see everything pointing to the Mashiach, shockingly. Look with me at what we read in Matthew 27, verse 47 to 49. I want to connect this to you. It says, now, from the 6th hour, darkness fell upon the land until the 9th hour. When some of those standing, they heard it. They began saying, this man is calling for Eliyahu. Right away, one of them ran into took a sponge. He filled it in the sour wine and put it to the stick and was offering to Yeshua to drink. But the rest was saying, leave him alone. Let's see if Eliyahu will come to save him. I want to explain to you a couple of things about this passage. Now that we understand that this bowl of vinegar, what we are to dip, represent the future redemption of Israel. But before we get there, I want you to notice something else. It says in the text here, and I believe there is a cross-reference in Yochanan as well, but it says here that darkness fell. Why did the author here, Matthew, want to tell us that darkness fell? What is so significant about darkness falling? I found the following in Moed Katan, and if you want the reference, it's Moed Katan, 25, page Bet. Let's look at this together. It says this, Choshech al kol haaretz, כאן בתלמוד כתוב, כאשר נחה נפשו, נפטר רבי יעקב נראו הכוכבים ההוא. When Rabbi Yaakov, who was a great tzaddik, died, look what happened in the daytime. The stars were visible in the daytime. This is a very Jewish concept. And Matthew understood it. When a tzaddik is passing and it's a daytime and there's night, it's a picture of a tzedakah, of a tzaddik here. Now, notice what happened in the text. They offer him vinegar, okay? And as you'll see in a second, he took the vinegar, okay? In Matthew 27:34, it actually says, let's go to the next one, it says, they offer him wine mixed with gall to drink, but after tasting, he was unwilling to drink it. Initially, he was unwilling to drink it. But look what Metzudot David explain on this term. Let's look at the Hebrew together again. It says, the same slide, it says, Ma'achilim oto esev maram mashkim oto chomet. They give him vinegar. The reason that you give vinegar to a person, because you want to take the pain. This is a commentary, by the way, on the Psalms, that you want to take pain and to add pain upon the pain so he can suffer an extra suffering. Friends, the dipping of the parsley is a dipping of redemption, that we ask God to take the one who is like Yosef, kutonet pasim, who wear the garment that is stained with blood, and we say we put all of these things upon him. so that we may be redeemed. That is what this story really is all about, dear friends. And I hope you all see that and understand what I'm explaining to you now. The dipping of the vinegar is significant. And as a matter of fact, in Yochanan 19, we see kind of the cross-reference, and we read there, after this, when Yeshua knew that all things were now completed, to fulfill the scripture, he says, Ani tzameh, I am thirsty. Now, a jar full of sour wine was sitting there. So the sponge soaked with the sour wine on a hyssop branch and brought it to his mouth. When Yeshua tasted the sour wine, what is sour wine? It's called chometz in Hebrew. He said, it is finished. And he bowed his head and gave up his spirit. Please understood that this is very, very significant what Yeshua has done. And I want to give you a cross reference, if you have your Bible, in the Tehillim. In Tehillim, chapter 69, okay, you're going to notice here a similar thing. It says in Tehillim, let me find, it's talking about the vinegar. And who is the one who is going to take the vinegar? Is Yosef. And why do we dip it? We dip it in order to pass, in essence, the role of the purification and sanctification, okay, to him, so he can rectify us back to the original garden condition. Okay, so this is also very, very significant, and I hope you understand the importance of those things. Let me continue to go forward just for a moment. We also eat during Pesach something that is called acharoset. It's a mixture of apples, and now we know what the apples represent, rectification of the first sin, but they also adding to it, always in every dish, any Jewish dish, you add to the charoset red wine. What does the red wine represent? Chazal spoke about this in one voice, and they say it's an illusion. It's an illusion to blood. It's represent the blood, okay? And it says the following: when Eve ate from the forbidden fruit, from the tree of knowledge, she experienced. Listen to this. When Eve ate from the first fruit, she experienced her first blood cycle. Okay, she didn't have the things that women have to go today through. Nida was not existent until Eve. So ladies, you can thank Eve for this, okay? Therefore, we add the wine. In essence, we say, God, restore even those things back to its original condition. As a matter of fact, here is a page from Midrash Shocher Tov. I don't know if we have it for you or not, but there is a page from Shocher Tov that explain that there are three things that God is going to restore when Mashiach come. Okay? When the Lord, it says in Psalm 146, the Lord loosened the prisoner. The three things God going to restore is, one of them is the pig. The pig will be kosher again. But the other thing, it says, Ein tom'ah ve'ela nida shene'emar. Okay? There will be no more nida. Please understanding this, okay? No more nida. Because again, we are asking God, even in the through the Karpas, to restore the world, to restore us back to the original condition. So, you know, we went through a Karpas, we went through the first cup of Kiddush. You start to understand we are asking Mashiach ben Yosef, through Mashiach ben Yosef, to rectify us. But now we're getting kind of to the star, to the main event, the matzah. And what we do with the matzah is interesting. We have a white cloth, and 3 matzot are covered in this. Okay? The middle matzah, okay, we are taking it out, okay? And basically, by the way, it's a reminder of the verse in Exodus 12:34, if you want. So the people took the matzah before it was leavened, they took it and they wrapped it in their cloaks and their shoulders. That's Exodus 12:34. That's kind of on the physical level. But what about the prophetic meaning behind this middle matzah, which is called also in Hebrew afikoman? Why do we break the matzah? And why we also make this declaration, this is the bread of affliction? Why do we sing this song? Okay? This step has a specific name. It's called the yachatz. Okay? The yachatz is also related to the word mechitza. And I always think about the Messiah. Tell us he's breaking the mechitza, the barrier. But what is the reason behind this breaking? Okay? Let's go through a few reasons, and I want you to notice that when we break it, there are two pieces, one big and one small. And the big piece, it's very important, the big piece is the piece you're going to hide. Not the small piece, but the big piece. Okay? Why is it? Well, there's a few reasons that given by our sages. Let me run through them very quickly. Number one, it is a reminder that the 10th plague happened in the middle of the night. Therefore, we break the middle matzah into two unequal pieces, because Moshe says, thus says the Lord, about midnight I will go forward among the Egyptians. Moses said, kechatzot, about midnight, not exactly midnight, since only God is capable to knowing the exact moment of the event. The broken matzah is a reminder of human limitation. That's one reason. Another reason of the broken matzah is a reminder that God, of course, split the Red Sea. Similarly, the Red Sea did not split equally, okay? It had two parts, and that's what it represents, okay? But there is deeper reason for this that I would like to get with you too. God divided also the years that were mentioned as the covenant or covenant pieces into two unequal parts. Let me explain to you this. The people were subjugated by the Egyptian for slavery, according to Genesis 15:13, for 400 years. But when we were enslaved, we were not enslaved for 400 years. We were enslaved only 210 years. So too, the matzah is kind of dividing into larger and smaller pieces. Okay, the larger piece is hidden under a pillow called afikomen, and whoever find it get great reward. We take out the middle matzah, break it into half, hide it in a place that a child will have to find it, okay? Now, I want to challenge you for a moment behind this thing, okay? The first night, this first part of the first half of matzah, Chazal explained, represent actually an event that happened way before Moses. It's happened in an event when Abraham went to help his brother-in-law, his nephew Lot, okay, to set Lot outside from captivity. That's the first piece of matzah. And during the second half of the night, God performed the miracle of the Passover. Chazal connected those two events from captivity to liberation to explain those two parts of matzah. And remember that when Israel left in the wilderness, Moses called the altar, and he says the altar is called Adonai Nisi, called the place Adonai Nisi, which means God is my miracle. It's a reminder that the miracles that happen in Egypt happen only through God's grace. We hide away the second piece, okay, as the Midrash says, to the verse connected. It says it was called it's Exodus 12:42. So it was for the Lord a night of watching, or in Hebrew it's called Leil Hashimurim. Leil Hashimurim is one of the names in Hebrew for the days when Messiah will come, okay? That means that we said about the bigger piece, because when Mashiach will come, the final redemption will be greater than the first redemption. Please understand, the redemption of Messiah will be greater than the redemption of Moshe. And that's why Chazal say it's absolutely imperative that the bigger piece will be set, because it will be much greater than the miracles that we have seen, much greater than Mount Sinai and so forth. The future Geulah will be greater. And that is very important. Now, how do we get to this future Geulah? You might ask the question. What is the steps? Well, the very first thing that we do in Pesach, when we take this, the matzah, we sing this song called Halachma Aniyah. It's a Aramaic song. It's Halachma Aniyah de'achalu avatana be'ad Mitzrayim kol dichfin yeteh ve'yechol. Everybody that is hungry, let him come. This is the bread of affliction that our father ate in the land of Egypt. Let us all who are hungry come and eat. Let us all who are needy come and celebrate. Now we are one. We're here, but next year we will be in the land of Israel. Now we are slave, but next year we may be free. Okay? And interestingly enough, that's represent the redemption. The bread of affliction represent the redemption. Okay? In some version of the Haggadah, I want you to notice something. The entire Haggadah, not this step, but the entire Haggadah, the entire storytelling before that, the first page starts with the word Ha-Lachma Aniyah. This is like the bread of affliction. It starts with this word, which implies that the matzah that we are eating is not just similar to what our ancestors ate in Egypt. It's not the actual bread they could consume, but it represents the same spiritual quantity as the bread that Hashem gave us. And matter of fact, Rabbi Yitzchak Luria, okay, one of our famous, greatest rabbi, explained the bread of affliction in such a, he said, matzah is more than just an imitation of the food of our ancestors who ate in Egypt. This is not what it is. It is not like the bread of the affliction of our ancestors that brought about the redemption and release from impurity. So too, matzah is transformative power for us today. Matzah is food for healing. By eating it, we find redemption and a connection to the mighty one of Israel. The Zohar explained that because Israel ate supernatural bread in Egypt, it was not a regular bread, please understand that. They were immune to the forces of evil called Yetzer Hara. Chametz, leaven, is likened to the evil inclination, okay? And by rejecting chametz and only eating matzah that does not contain chametz, the people of Israel were released from impurity, okay, altogether, and they were able to, therefore they were able to consume chametz without the fear of having affecting them. But you might ask the question, wait a second, if chametz is so bad, okay, and it's represent evil inclination, why God allow it to be eaten at all? Why do we need it? Chazal explain it and answer this question with a parable. And here is the parable to explain the power of the matzah. A king had only one child who became ill. At first, the doctor fed him only the special cure. But when he became better, He said the child could consume anything that he so desired. So too, when Israel went from Egypt, they had no idea of the source and the secret of their fate. God said, let the people eat only matzah, the bread of healing. While they do so, they should not consume any other food. When Yeshua gave the bread to his follower, he said, this is the bread of life, this is the bread of healing. While they do so, they should not consume anything else or any other food. Matzah will become the remedy through which they will enter the secret faith. After this, nothing can harm them so that they can again eat chametz. Matzah, in essence, allowed Israel to enter into the service of God in the divine faith. This is why the bread is called the bread of healing or the bread of life and so forth. This, the bread of affliction, okay, is truly the bread of life. As a matter of fact, the word here in Hebrew, the word anya or ani, that's a word for affliction, okay, has different meaning, okay? It does not just mean afflicted, it does not even mean only poverty, but the word ani comes from the word ane. Ane in Hebrew means answer, to answer me. It's literally called in Hebrew the bread of answers. And eating matzah made us ask many questions and offer many diverse answers. And I want you to get used to the fact that we're not going to get one answer, okay? But it's also called the bread of oni, of poverty, because it's prepared in the way that a poor person prepares his bread. The word oni can also be derived from this idea that we are to be blessed by shefa, divine plenty. And how we receive divine plenty? From anything that comes from above, even if it's appealed to the world as oni. And a matter of fact, there is a clue here that as we take the bread and we eat the bread, our eyes open supernaturally to this bread of affliction. Look with me on these verses from Hosea chapter 2. And it says in Hosea 2:23, and it shall come to pass in that day, I will respond, says Adonai. Don't you like the word I will respond? The word here, respond, in Hebrew is the word e'eneh. E'eneh is derived from the word oni, the affliction. How I will respond? I will respond through the bread of afflictions to the heavens, and they will respond to the earth. God in essence said, that's how you are going to have relationship with me. It's through something that I will give you. It's an act of divine grace, okay? It was simply through the act of eating matzah that God redeemed us out of Egypt. And the next Geulah, remember, because it is cyclical, will be greater, with greater divine grace, okay, than the first Geulah, okay? In essence, he made us aware that there is no place empty of God's presence and God's grace and God's kindness. The Talmud explains it so beautifully and says it like this: an infant does not call his parents father and mother until he consumes solid food. This means that wisdom and understanding come from God, and only when become worthy of them through the food of healing. And how do we start? By receiving the gift of grace. Beloved, everything starts with the gift of grace. The message here is a message of grace. Matzah is called lachma aniyah, poor person bread. The lowest things, if it's come from Hashem, can and will provide grace. Let's continue on in the story of the Maggid. One of the highlights in the story of the Maggid is the story of 4 sons. or as it seemed. Let's see a picture of those 4 sons. One of the sons is called in Hebrew the Chacham, which means the wise. One of them is called in Hebrew the wicked. One of them called the Tamim, the innocent. And one of them, Sheheino Yodea Lishol. He doesn't know how to ask. Now, what are those 4 sons? Who are those 4 sons? And what do they represent in terms of the Geulah? I wanted to pay attention with me for a moment. For first of all, the way that the blessing begins, and you can come back to me in the camera. It starts with the word Baruch Hamakom. You know, the blessing, before we describe those 4 children of Israel, we start with the prayer, Baruch HaMakom, Baruch Hu, Baruch Shenatan Torah Le'amo Yisrael, Baruch Hu. Blessed be the place, blessed be He, blessed is the one who gave Torah to His name, to people Israel, blessed be He. 4 times the opening poems start with the word Baruch. And it starts with the word Baruch HaMakom, the place, okay? And it's 4, why? Because it represents the 4 children, you know, for the same reason we do those things, you know. They represent the Baruch before we eat, before we light Shabbat candle, etc., etc. Chazal explain that those 4 expressions, the Baruch expression, they represent the 4 cup of redemption. In essence, each one of those children has to be redeemed. And I want to shock you and explain to you something. Each one of those children is a story. We think only the wise one got redeemed, but that is not true. Each one of them gets redeemed in the story of the Haggadah. So let's talk about those children and see what we can learn about them. The first one is the wise, is the Chacham, is the wise child. The Chacham, the question I hope all of you will ask yourself is, what make him wise, okay? Why is he wise? And Chazal says he is not wise because he knows all the commandments. This is a shocking answer, and I hope you understand it. He is not wise because he knows Hebrew or he knows the reason for all of the commandments. That's not why. Here is the reason the wise son is wise. He realized the reasoning for the commandment, and that they can be reduced to the simple fact that God took us out of Egypt. Rather, he is wise because he is seeking to learn new mitzvahs and seeking knowledge that is brand new. That's the only reason that the wise son, the Chacham, is wise. He is seeking new things. That's what Chazal says. It's not about what he knows. It is about what he is willing to learn and what is desired to learn, okay? That's very important. Israel was redeemed from Egypt because they accepted 2 commandments. And even before that, the Torah was given. And what are the 2 commandments? The Pesach and the Brit. Okay, those were the 2 commandments. A Chacham is simply a Chacham, not because what he knows, but it's about his desire. And I hope everybody understand that. Your desire count, and the Torah wants us to know it, and the Chazal wanted to know. Your desire to know Torah counts in the kingdom of God, even if you don't understand everything about Torah, okay? The second son that I would like to talk about is the wicked son, okay? What makes the son that is wicked, wicked? Here is the reason. Friend, he is wicked because he observe only a commandment that he know the purpose and the reason for. And this is something I want to challenge us today in the body of Messiah, to stop questioning everything the rabbi say or didn't say, or find out the reason for everything. The wicked child, okay, what is he saying in the story? Ma ha'avodah azot lachem. Why are you doing what you're doing? I want a reason. I want a report. I want to know why we're doing what we're doing. Friends, sometimes it's very dangerous to try to find the reason for every mitzvah. You know why? Because Hashem is heavenly, and only He and He alone know the reason for every mitzvah. We don't understand it. And what makes the wicked child wicked is because he tried to reason and rational everything. Everything. Let us, God, help us, so we will not be like the wicked. The third son is the one who called the Tamim, the simple one. And what does Tamim have to say? He said, what is it? You know, the simple child is more impressed, in essence, with the natural universe than the Jewish history. He asked, what is the Exodus compared with God's greatness as creator of the universe? We tell this child, God took us out in a strong hand in order to show the true greatness. God was even willing to forgo Israel, what Israel deserved, you know, in interest of redeeming his children. That was more difficult than creating the world. The people of Israel were not worthy of being redeemed. Friends, please understand according to the principle of justice. Help us not to be like Atamim, impressed with the natural universe instead of the ancestry of our Jewish people. Okay? It's important to us to immerse ourselves in the Jewish culture and Jewish tradition and do things in the Jewish way. Okay? Very important. And actually, when we think about the 4 children, you think that the lowest one is the wicked one. Wrong! The child who is the lowest of the lowest of the lowest is actually not the wicked. It's the one that doesn't know how to ask. Why? Because he doesn't understand the way of our ancestors, of the purpose of avoiding chametz, or the reason of eating matzah, or anything. He is lost. He's like a person who is lost in Egypt and became bogged down by idolatry. Only when we ourselves get rid of chametz, even inclination, we can even come to the point that we can ask. This child doesn't even know what to ask because he's stuck completely in Egypt. He did not even start his journey yet. Now, I want you to be understanding that all the story of the Geulah here is a story that all 4 children, at the end of the day, are getting redeemed. Okay, this is very, very important, because we don't know who is getting redeemed. So 2 questions you have to ask yourself. Number 1, how they're getting redeemed. Number 2, are you ready for this? Who is the one who redeeming those children? Who is the redeemer of those children? Here you go. Pay attention to this very, very closer. The wicked person was redeemed because the covenantal promise of a redemption, and not because he was deserving redemption. God had promised Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob to take the children out of Egypt after 400 years. And God did it. That's why he did it, even though it was undeserved. We call that, friend, grace. Okay? The one who didn't know how to ask was redeemed because the zechut avot, what's called the zechut avot, the merits of the father. Because he chose to remain faithful to the tradition of the forefathers, even when he didn't all understood them. He merited redemption. Okay, the third child, the simple one, was also redeemed, okay, from Egypt because of the merits of the Torah, okay? Some of the people of Israel were redeemed not because what they did, because of what they would do in the future. Hashem knew that they would accept the Torah and therefore merited redemption even before redemption was deserved, okay? Finally, the wise one redeemed because he truly lived his life according to the Torah, okay? But the question becomes, who is the redeemer of those 4 children? And now we're finally getting to the important point. The Torah speaks about 4 children. The Torah also talks about 4 cups of wine. We also ask 4 questions. And all of it is based on Exodus chapter 6, verse 6, 7, and 8. But there is a problem that I hope all of you are aware of. In Exodus 6:6, he says, Lachen emor lebnei Israel, say to the children of Israel, I am Adonai, deliver you from the Egyptian, save you from your work, redeem you in outstretched arm, take you to be my people. And then verse 8, something happened. And I brought you to the land. Wait a second, friends. There are no 4 children in this story. There is a 5th child in the story. There is one child who is missing from this story. And I want you to remember that there is the 5th cup of wine. The cup that we do not drink. Okay, it's the cup for Eliyahu Navi. It's the 5th cup. So there are no 4, there are 5. But we don't drink this 5th cup. Why we don't drink this 5th cup? Because this son has not yet arrived. Who is this son? The word echad, 1, shtayim, 2, shalosh, 3, arba, 4. But the chamesh, the 5th son, is rooted in his word. Look with me in the Hebrew. The word chamesh is actually rooted, is the letter chet mem shin, in the name mem shin chet, Mashiach. Do you want to know who the 5th son is, friend? By the name 5, we should know who it is. It is the Messiah. One of the sons will be the redeemer of the 4 other children. And who it is? It is the Messiah. And that's why, although the scripture says, and I will brought you to the land, and if you're in Israel, you're certainly in the land. You don't drink the 5th cup, but you're in the land. How can it be? It is because the 5th son yet to come. You might ask, where is the 5th son is? Well, the 5th son is in the diaspora. And a matter of fact, the sages tell us that the 5th son in the story of Pesach has a name. Has his name, he's the prodigal son. Some of you have heard the prodigal son story over and over again, but I promise you that you have never heard it through the story of the Haggadah. The prodigal son in this story is none other than the Mashiach. That's why we see in Luke 15 the following upon his return. This is again a prophetic picture of the story of Haggadah. It says, my son, the father said, you're always with me and everything I have is yours. But we had to celebrate and be glad because this brother of yours was dead and he is alive again, and he was lost and now he is found. Friend, the chamesh, the 5th son, is the prodigal son. That's literally the name that is known as in Judaism, is the prodigal son. And he is the one who is going to bring salvation to all the other sons. Notice he is a son of Israel. The Mashiach is one of the sons of Israel. He's not a Gentile. He is a son of Israel. He's a Jew. Okay? The other thing about him that I want you to notice, in Luke 15, it says that this son, the prodigal son, appeared wicked. He was wicked, to appear wicked. Yeshua appear wicked today, but he is not wicked. He is going to return. Look what the text says in Luke 15. Where did he went to? Where did the prodigal son went to? It says that he went to other nations. He went to the Goyim. Okay, he went to far lands, to the nation. Yeshua today belongs to the nations. And only through this process of bringing back and inviting the 5th son back. I personally drinking the 5th cup, and I tell you why I drinking, because Yeshua, Yeshua is representing this. That's why when Yeshua was on the cross and said, maybe now we will bring Eliyahu. Why? Because what's the 5th cup? The 5th cup is the cup of Eliyahu Navi. Okay? Eliyahu Navi bringing the 5th, ultimately the prodigal son, the Mashiach. So this story here of the 4 children coming down to this, All four children as being redeemed in the end. They are redeemed by the prodigal son. And who is the prodigal son? Mashiach Tzidkenu himself. Okay, one more thing for you. I realize that this is running quite long, this teaching, but I hope it's been a blessing to you. What about this funny song that we sing in the end of the Seder? Go like that. Chad Gad Ya, Chad Gad Ya, Chad Gad. Who is this Chad Gad Ya? The word Gdi in Hebrew comes from the word goat. It's the funniest and craziest story of this goat. And matter of fact, this story is a cursive story. What I mean is by a cursive story, we read one verse and then it's added to it another and then another, and we always sing it. And it's just a crazy story about a kid, okay, and a kid that is being ate by a cat, and a cat that eaten by a dog, and etc., etc. I want to read with you this crazy story as we understand what this story has to do with the future redemption of Israel. Here's the story of Haggadah, and I hope you will all sing it tomorrow. It's go like this. Then came the Holy One, that's the end of the story, blessed be he, and slaughtered the angel of death, who slaughtered the shochet. Shochet, if you don't know who the shochet is, he's the one who slaughtered. Who slaughtered the bull, that drank the water, that extinguished the fire, that burned the stick, that hit the dog, that bit the cat, and ate the kid. One kid. As a matter of fact, it's kind of fun. The Haggadah is talking about the father who buy this story. Haggadah is one of the most well-known liturgy for the end, and it's the very end of the Passover Seder. And the end of the story makes sense. God, Hashem himself, is the very end, in the very end of the story. He brings death upon the angel of death, okay? And if you want to understand how end time eschatology going to look like, just see the end of the story. Hashem is going to defeat Ha-Satan, okay? The question become, what are all those things represent? What the kid represent, okay? And what the cat represent, who is the dog, etc., etc. Various explanation is given to this, and they're all very messianic in nature. Okay, one explanation explained that the kid is actually Yosef. Okay, which the brothers soak in blood of the Gdi. The Gdi, the kid, is a picture of Yosef. The cat is these brothers. The dog is the Egyptian who brought slavery upon the Israelites. The stick represents Moses, the first redemption over this Moses stuff. The smoke, the fire, represent the evil inclination, okay? The water represent the Torah, okay? And the story here, again, there is a bull. The bull represents, of course, the golden calf. A shochet, the one who slaughtered the golden calf, who beat the golden calf, is Moses, okay? And then the angel of death, etc., etc., and God redeem us. That's one way to look upon the story, but one of my favorite ways to look upon the story is through the words of one of our great rabbis, the Gaon of Vilna. Okay, the Gaon of Vilna explained the story, the kid, okay, that the kid represents the Bechorah, the firstborn, okay? It's the argumentation to find out about the firstborn, okay? Talking about, kind of related to Yosef, but talking about from the beginning of the world, okay? All right? Now, the story continues with the fact that the father, okay, that the father bought the goat with 2 zuzim. If you don't know what 2 zuzim, it's a gold coins, okay? And that represents Yaakov, who bought the birthright, okay, of his brother. That's the beginning of the story, okay? It represented this. The story continue, you know, with the the soup, that's representing in the story. The cat in the story represent, again, the sons of Jacob, okay? Their jealousy of Joseph. But here's where it's become interesting. The dog is the kingdom of Egyptian. Remember, the 4 cups represent the 4 kingdoms of the 4 kingdoms before the final redemption, okay? And then the dog, which is calm, you know, which represent the Egyptian, and then the staff come after it in the story, remember? And the staff kick it out. And what is the staff? It's Moses' staff, who parted the Red Sea. But then something happened. Fire come in the story. What that fire represent? Strange fire, according to the Gaon of Vilna. Okay, although Moses brought a redemption, their redemption was not a complete redemption, and Israel went together to Avodah Zarah. And then something happened. After that, water came. Water represent not just the spirit, but represent the rabbis themselves, who brought back a little bit the Jewish people away from Avodah Zarah. But then something happened. The shore, the bull appears. And who is the bull? Bull represents the kingdom of Rome, the kingdom of Christianity, according to this story. Okay? But somebody coming and he's slaughtering the kingdom of Christianity. Who is the one that will do this? In the story, somebody slaughter the bull. Who is the one who is slaughtering the bull? It's called the story HaShochet. Who is the Shochet? The Shochet is Mashiach ben Yosef. He has to come, he has to fight for Israel, and he has to die, according to the story, by Malach HaMavet. Okay? But then something happened. After the Malach HaMavet kill him, HaKadosh Baruch Hu come, according to the Gaon of Vilna, in the manifestation of Mashiach ben David, and slay and slaughter Hasatan once and for all. And the rabbi says, no, it's not if we are good, we will receive Ben David, and if we are bad, we will receive Ben Yosef. No, they say Ben Yosef has to appear before Ben David will appear. So, okay, let me recap for you what we learned today very, very briefly. We learned a few things today, and I hope this has been just a terrific study for you. I could take many more hours just going through this. But let me recap a couple of things that I hope will be very important as you conduct your seders and you think about the prophetic meaning behind this. The story that is called Haggadah is the story of connecting ourselves back to our original condition of rectification with Hashem, may His name be blessed, back in the garden. All the elements are pointing us back to the garden. Okay, all of them. Moshe Rabbeinu, we're celebrating Moshe Rabbeinu and his exodus here for one purpose, so that we will have to be able to look for the next exodus. That's why it's called this day, called according to Exodus 12, Yom HaShimurim, the day of watching, the day of watchmen, okay, in essence. We're looking forward for these days, even to restore us back to the original condition, the way we eat, okay? That's why we declare Boreh, Pri Adama, okay? And how do we achieve it? By double dipping. Immersion. And what are we double dipping it in? We're double dipping it in vinegar. Why vinegar? Because the vinegar represents the karpas that we dip. The karpas come from the word pasim, that represent the garment of Yosef. Only through Yosef, only what through Yosef done, through the blood in essence, we can take upon ourselves this rectification and prepare forward. And that's why Chazal said we are to do it twice. First, represent the sin of the children of Israel when we sold Yosef, and maybe perhaps we need individually to do that too, for selling Yeshua for who he's not. Maybe it's something personal that you need to do. And the second dipping we do is for the future Geulah, as we are to do this, okay? Now we learn about the matzah, that the bigger piece of the matzah represent the future geula, okay? And those is important because this piece represent the things to come. And that's why Chazal explained to us again that the second piece will be much superior and more significant for the first piece. Remember also that according to Matthew 27, we learn that Yeshua drank this sour wine. This is important, friends. Yeshua is a representation not just of the first cup, but he is also a representation of this vinegar. Put your trust in him, put your faith in him, and he is the one who can bring us down and bring us back through the power of resurrection. We also look at this principle of the 4 children, and each one of us is falling into the category of the 4 children. But it doesn't matter today if you are the wicked one or the wise one or the one that doesn't know how to ask or the innocent one. Here's what's important, that there is a 5th child that is waiting. He is actually standing at the door. He wants to come in. He known in Jewish literature as the 5th son, Chamishi, or if you flip the letters, the term is Meshichi. He is the Mashiach himself. He is this prodigal son, and he wants to return. And how is he return? He return through this lechem ha'oni, the bread of affliction. The word oni, ani. Think about it. Zechariah chapter 9, verse 9 tell us the Mashiach is called ani rochev al chamor. How appropriate it is that the Messiah himself called ani. He is called poor. He is a representation of this bread, the bread that gives us answer. If you need answer, this is the time to call upon Mashiach through the bread of affliction, through this divine grace. He is the only way that we can restore. Finally, we look at this song of the Haggadah, and we learn through the Haggadah that although the kid died and the cat died and the dog died, notice all the kingdom died. The angel of death also died because there was a shochet, who is Mashiach ben Yosef, who came. Yeshua came first time as Mashiach ben Yosef, is coming then again according to the song as the Holy One of Israel. Ben David came to finally complete this salvation. I hope this lesson, this teaching, brief teaching on Haggadah, bless your heart. I hope you enjoy it. If God moving you to support this type of broadcast, as you can imagine, it takes a lot of time to prepare those type of teachings, to bring it to you. We always would appreciate greatly your support. But I would like to close just with a prayer for each one of you, Seder, tomorrow. Avinu Shebashamayim, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, I ask that you give each person here who lead tomorrow Passover Seder much atzlacha, much success, to see Yeshua in a unique way, but not just to see him, but explain the message of the Messiah, of the gospel, the true gospel. Rectify and repairing and bring a tikkun to the world, and tikkun to each person taking part of the Seder, even back to rectify the sins of the Nachash, the serpent. So Lord, we ask that this will be a season of Nisim. It's the word Nes derived from the term Nisan. Many miracles, signs and wonders in every Passover Seder that is taking place. I ask this, Abba, in the name of your Son, Mashiach Tzidkenu Yeshua. Amen. Chag Sameach and Kol Tuv. God bless you. We will see you. להתראות.